Carina. I think Dalius also. Could you please join the stage? Circle. We will try to. We will try to get into the chair. Carina, can you see the chairs? And now can you see us?
Yes.
Wonderful.
You want some water?
No, I'm fine, thank you. Right, so it was really amazing. I got a little bit messed up. What is the difference between artificial intelligence and machine learning? Because we were touching one thing and then another thing. So what is the real difference between them?
I would dare to say there is no practical difference. For society, for businesses, it really doesn't matter. It's just slightly different technology, but both are based on data. Both can be wrong in our decisions. Both can be
right. No,
right or wrong.
So when we talk about machine learning, we are talking about artificial intelligence in common.
I would say that, so I agree 90%. I would say that machine learning is an application of artificial intelligence. And so when we talk about AI, mostly we mean machine learning, which is this one application of it. But there is also this, as the European Commission defined it, for example, just going through a tree, answering questions, and would be already for them artificial intelligence, and it can be just mathematical regression models, for example. And machine learning is really this one application based on data going through the neural networks.
Okay, so just a narrow thing of artificial intelligence. Okay, thank you, Let's for this clarification. Well, there was a practical joke about Future Factory, that in Future Factory there will be only two employees. One will be a human being and another will be a dog. And the human being will be in the factory because he or she will be obliged to feed the dog. And the dog will be there just to ensure that the human being will not touch any equipment. Are we getting there?
If I may, I personally don't think that. So as was said, machine learning is used for more monotone tasks, repetitive tasks, and then when it comes to really putting the results into the real world, understanding them in connection to the real world, I think there will still be a need for human or interpreting. Also for us, we need to keep the human in the loop with our text. As a human, you always stay responsible for your declaration, so you need to take the final decision. And I think for accountability reasons, and also because the technology will not get so far, in my opinion, that soon, for a long time, we will stay ahead, in my opinion, and we will be needed. Yeah.
And I would probably add that artificial intelligence is algorithms and data. But then in many professions and in our everyday life, there is a very significant part that is empathy and emotions. And sometimes it's even more important. And that part is out of reach for artificial intelligence because you don't have good data about it. I mean, we do a lot of things unconsciously, we react, etc. And hence, when we are talking about AI replacing jobs, AI putting people out of jobs, basically AI can replace and probably will replace a lot of tasks that we do, but professions or jobs. These are many tasks on one hand, and on the other hand, there is a glue, which is empathy and emotions, which glue everything together into one profession. And that glue is that. So yes, AI plus human can be a much better worker, but AI itself will not put people out of jobs. I mean, AI will replace some things, but not everything. Totally not.
But there are some professions that are pretty much, based on the monotonic work. So those professions will be just disappearing, and we will be standing with the professions that do need empathy and all these psychological things that, at least for now, the artificial intelligence is not able to provide us.
I believe so, yes. I believe so, but I mean, it will come, probably not so soon as Elon Musk predicts, but yes, it will come.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, nobody can really see into the future, right, and what is going to be happening. But so I think that there will be, especially, I think that the fear I see is, that currently, globally, there are 37% of the world not connected to the internet. So while certain regions are really getting ahead, having ownership of their data and developing these new technologies, exactly these countries who are now completely disconnected, they also are the ones that are projected to lose most jobs because of automation and having certain jobs being completely replaced. And also, I think there's a lot of regions that are also hit by climate changes. So I think globally it's going to be a bigger issue than looking at Europe. Actually, there will be some jobs lost, I guess. But people now there should be investment in retraining. But I think the global level is going to be the more tricky one than the national or European level. So I think we will manage to have everyone still employed or focus on upskilling, retraining, doing different tasks, having new jobs emerging. Yeah.
It sounds great that artificial intelligence is not going to steal our job overall. But I'm thinking, and what you, Carina, have mentioned, this bias and impact on the different parts of the labor market. And since we know that women in technology is not represented as well as men, in STEM, for instance, but we also know that the increase for artificial intelligence labor market has doubled over the last 3 years. That actually means that the more future jobs will be created for male. So do you really see that would be something that will create absolutely inequality in the market?
So it's very interesting because the first programmers back in history were women, because it was said that programming is this kind of very like a task that is suited very well for women, being very careful, being very precise, and prudent. And then somehow, and men were doing the robotics, like the hardware. And then somehow it completely shifted, and software became the big thing with making a lot of money. And then women completely fell out of this. I personally don't know how it actually completely really happened. And so I think now the job is really to get women back into the topic, because we need to, girls and women, and it needs to start very early. So there is a lot of systemic issues, like starting with the idea also the roles that we grew up with the things we do as children. Like there was an experiment recently done at Ars Electronica, and there is an institute in Linz for robo-psychology, and they actually went to buy presents for children. And the first question in Austria you are asked if you want to buy a present is it a girl or a boy? And then depending on the gender, basically you buy something pink for brushing your hair or playing, and then if it's a boy, you actually go and get something to construct or build or have some Lego and so on. And so I think it starts very early, and we really need to make sure to get girls and women to participate. And the jobs are really great jobs, because you're very highly paid, you have a lot of flexibility, you can work from anywhere. So there is a lot of opportunity there. And we really need to make sure to get women on board and not have these jobs only created for men. But if only one group programs, the chances that you have the vision of the world of this one group represented is very high. and then you need to correct systems instead of making sure that from the beginning you have an inclusive, diverse approach.
I think we have a situation where we are trying to shoot a messenger. Actually, technology just brought out all the biases we have in the society. And even before IT became big thing, who were working in physics, in mathematics, in science, mostly men. But nobody cared, I would say. Yeah, I mean.
Now we care.
Now we care. But that's probably because technology pointed out our biases in the society. And let's not fix society problems with, or let's not imagine that we can fix with technology. Society problems can be fixed in the society, but not.
But the technology is created to fix the problems for the society.
It's helping, but it's not fixing the root cause. The root cause, I mean, we should go to the root cause.
I agree. I mean, I think probably, yeah, I agree. The only thing that I tell myself is, imagine you have a human who is really racist. Like, how long does it take you to convert him into someone more open-minded? Eventually, it's not even possible if somebody is really convinced of a certain worldview. But if you have technology created by diverse people with the goal of fixing biases we have or trying to come up with better outcomes, I tend to be optimistic that we will manage to get to, not fair, because fair is subjective, it's very hard to measure. There are at least 21 mathematical formulas of how to measure fairness, but I think we can get to better decisions with technology. As an optimist, I say that, but not everyone agrees. No.
You touched an interesting aspect also on the biasness. And one of your examples of artificial intelligence usage in our everyday lives is well, all those nice examples like smart face locker or fingerprint or outer completion, yes. Right? Or some kind of preferable choices that if you're looking for something, you will receive a lot of information about this something, whether it is a job, whether it is some consumer products. But don't you think that this kind of artificial intelligence creates device, or creates kind of narrow-mindedness? Because when we're looking for something, we will be flooded with information about that one. And if we are looking for, I don't know, if we're looking for information on racism, and we take clear position on that aspect, we will be fed information specifically with that opinion, or on vaccination, for instance, or on any other thing. So we will be like put in the tunnel of information by artificial intelligence. Isn't it a threat to us, to democracy?
You could say we have a dictatorship of majority, because artificial intelligence, being artificial intelligence, it relies on data. And if we have loads of text which are racist, it just shows us. So basically, you can say that artificial intelligence is a mirror into society. Do you blame the mirror?
Yeah, obviously a mirror. Bad, sure.
No, yeah. I mean, I would, I think it's one of the biggest challenges to democracy, and this has been shown also during Cambridge Analytica in 2016, which had the two cases of Trump election, which and also the Brexit, where, I mean, it's super dangerous, and it's a bit a problem of filter bubbles also, so everybody's in the bubble, and you have information via social media targeting specific people, and Cambridge Analytica really did on this personality test, so they really knew whom they were targeting, people who were not sure whom they're going to vote for, so they said, okay, we need to convert them into the Trump voters, and then they said, okay, what types are they scared, are this and this, and then they showed not fake news, they showed kind of dramatized news, but that really triggered the fear of the person feeling, yes, I think Trump can protect me more or less. And the problem was, or is, that nobody knows who saw what. It was on social media, and you scroll through it, and nobody can track it. It's not like a poster on the wall. You can't really know who saw what, and nobody has this information. And all this actually having private actors being so influential and really doing content moderation with AI, really looking like who's targeted with what, and the goal is to keep you on the platform. So if you're into this racist stuff, or if you're into whatever, the anti-vaccine propaganda, the tendency that you will be shown these videos is very high because they want to keep you on this platform. That's the goal of it. And so there is a huge threat to democracy, and a lot of transparency in these systems need, I would say. But it's true, it's a mirror, and it's what we want to see. So, but it's playing with our weaknesses, having these gamifications experts who try to systematically push you into doing it. It's a bit of like a drug consume also, like it really triggers your dopamine level in the head, constantly making you look at the platform and waiting for new content, stimulating your instincts basically. Yeah.
But what would be the solution then? Well, of course, we need to put more information, balanced information from the very beginning. But don't we need some kind of regulation that would be provided balanced information on the subject? That's a hard question.
Well, if we are looking about short-term solution, probably. You could even dare to call it censorship, basically. But if you are looking for a long-term solution, I would say education and critical thinking. Critical thinking is starting from class 1.
Preschool, maybe?
Even preschool. So that's probably the solution.
So, yeah, I would agree. You can't simply, there's not only this legal approach, but I think it's necessary to regulate to some extent, which then also it can't be over-regulated because then you're killing innovation, and Europe is taking a very important stance regulating, but at the same time over-regulating is bad. But just something very interesting I found, you need to imagine that there is this European Transparency Register who is lobbying actually in Brussels, and tech companies spend yearly, or spend 2020, they spend 97 million euros lobbying EU institutions. And only, so this is 10 times as much as the entire automotive industry, and it's 10 times as much as the entire financial sector. And only Google and Facebook spend more lobbying the European institutions than the entire financial industry. So you might argue 6 million euros spent by Facebook influencing lawmaking at European level is a huge problem, because even if we as Women in AI send our letter with the comment, it's ridiculous compared to someone going, like having a workforce inviting commissioners to go for lunch and proposing the standards and so on. So there is a real imbalance, which is also a big threat to democracy. And then I just want to agree that everyone has a role to play, and it starts with being educated and having critical thinking, and not just accepting whatever is happening, but questioning the information, decisions of systems, and so on. So I think that's a big challenge we will be facing, to resist pre-defined decisions coming out from machines simply because they seem to be the comfortable solution. Yeah.
I wouldn't agree. I mean, looking at the AI Act draft, I would say these 97 billion are wasted money, because the AI draft is totally not technology friendly, I would say. So, yeah, even though we spend this kind of money, they have not achieved what technology companies would probably like to have. So it's not. I would say it's not balanced. It's just going to push away all the AI research out of Europe. That's my take on it.
And that seems to be a huge problem. So what is the current status of AI in Austria and in Lithuania? And knowing that you mentioned that, for instance, China is very much ahead of ours because the regulation is much easier there. So should we expect that China and the countries that do not have and apply the regulations such as GDPR, for instance, will be much ahead of the European Union countries?
I would say so, yes, especially everything which is related to human health, to human ways of doing things, to behavior, to biometrics. And I would dare to say that China, if it's not leading, it's going to be leading in like next couple of years in that area. US probably is going to stay ahead of Europe as it already is for many years. So everything that touches human is going to be technologies imported from US, from China, from outside.
Do you see the same picture?
Well, yeah, I agree. I think we missed a lot. We should have invested much earlier in building a certain infrastructure. And from a business perspective, I think Europe is super complex. I see it as a company myself. You have all these different jurisdictions, languages, cultures. So compared to China, where you have like a huge amount of people generating a huge amount of data, processing these systems and having no protection, they have a huge advantage compared to us, and even the US. But even not only the digital workload, just to give you an example, we really wanted to employ someone in the Netherlands working remotely in the Netherlands. It was not possible for us. And this is such a big disadvantage that I, as an Austrian company, cannot simply digitally employ someone without taking some weird risk, paying some weird payroll agencies, having like all these complicated risks that I need to take is super hard for us even to have this workforce building these solutions. And I think that's exactly what is represented in the digital sphere when you try to scale solutions, and we have a big disadvantage of this big culture data regulation space that allows us to produce solutions on a bigger scale, and you always work on this micro level and it's hard to expand. Yeah. So just to add, but I think so, like that the US are going to be the big players, and we are in between trying to do trustworthy AI. Totally agree with, because as a human rights lawyer, that's what I believe in. But at the same time, it slows us down, and we will have. I mean, it can be a competitive advantage in the sense that, maybe people lose trust in bad applications and to get more aware about the issues concerning them. And then if this happens, there might be this turning point, or Europeans might want to use this more trustworthy solutions. But if this doesn't happen, then I think that China and US will be the big advantage. Yeah.
So I actually see that artificial intelligence have some cons, and it can create more inequalities, not only within the society but also around the globe. I would like to encourage our audience to ask the questions, but before that, my final questions from you go to you. You mentioned that there is a possibility to employ artificial intelligence in every business. We just have to have this repeated, monotonic kind of work. But how expensive is that? Because the third part was whether it is worth investing. So how expensive is to create something with artificial intelligence that most probably will help us in the future, or maybe not?
Well, it depends. I mean, you can start playing with it pretty much almost for nothing. like just I don't know, trying to some products, some no-code products, which maybe cost you, I don't know, 20 euros per month, and you can start categorizing incoming emails. That's like as low as you can get, or you can invest a lot. It really depends on the task at hand. But one thing that you should definitely look at whenever you have a problem, see if there is a ready-made solution. That will help. That will save you tons of money. If there is a ready-made solution, then just use it, copy, etc.
Because for now, to hire IT guy is very problematic and it's very expensive compared to any other person who will be doing monotonic job. Is for now.
Even though there are still many applications where these low-paid workers are more expensive than technology.
Because of the
time they spend. You need to hire them. You need to hire replacements. You need to have replacements during the sick leave, etc.
I was thinking of mistakes and
mistakes as well.
Price of mistakes. Okay, so any questions from the audience? It seems that everything is very clear. Do we still have me?
Yes, I'm still here. 1 second. I just had to switch.
Okay. In any case, I thank you very much. I very much enjoyed the discussion. I hope our members also liked the key points that you mentioned during your presentations, and we will have some thoughts afterwards. How to implement artificial intelligence in our everyday life, in our everyday business, and maybe some critical thinking about every automatic solutions that we are given by that. So thank you very much. A round of applause to our. And I think what you would like to.
No, I would like only to thank Dalius for presentation, for ideas, and thank you. Thank you for the participation. Thank you, Carina.
And the presentation will be sent to every member. Thank you.
Okay.
Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.